dark of the night, whispers of deceit.
Shadows dance on the walls.
Secrets they repeat. A shadowed figure
with eyes full of lies.
hiding truths in the shadows where no one dares to pry. Uncover the truth. Let the lies come undone. Peel back the layers until the light is shown. Uncover the truth, let the shadows run. Break free from the chains and find the sun. Uncover the truth in the dead of the night, where secrets lie hidden like a whispered bite. Uncover the truth.
All right, we'll uncover the truth.
We are. And today, Dave, I appreciate you giving the opportunity to do another Bloodlines and Betrayal, covering the Karen Read trial, which finally came to its conclusion on Wednesday. I was very happy about that. Yes.
I did see it, and I thought of you. You had mentioned it. And when
I'm wearing my Turtleboy gear.
What does it say?
Turtleboy, Aidan. It says, "Don't poke the turtle."
Oh, you bought it?
Oh, I have a lot of his gear. Yeah. If you're a fan of him, you're called a turtle rider.
Okay.
Is
that how he makes it? Does he make money from it, or it's just kind of?
Yeah, he makes a ton of money off of it.
Oh, does he really?
That's kind of why I wanted to get into podcasting. Yeah, he's on YouTube. Look at his YouTube channel.
I'm gonna look at it right now.
But he makes a fortune off of it because he does a banner. Well, I mean, he takes donations, and they call it grifting. But what he does is he got banned from using YouTube super chats. So he created Turtle Chat, where you can message him or you can Cash App him, and he will read your message on the air, and you donate money to him. Nobody thought it would take off the way that it did, but it has. And he can clear thousands of dollars in a week off his 3 shows through Turtle Chats, through people donating. And that's what I had always envisioned for us, putting up a Cash App or a Venmo and having people donate and reading a message or whatnot, but we're just not as popular as Turtleboy. He had the largest stream of his career last night. I believe, I have to check. You have to check it. I thought it was 40,000. He gets for his live shows. But Turtleboy was the one who really broke the Karen Read case. It happened in 2022, and it wasn't getting a lot of attention. Turtleboy was sent the indictment and some of the evidence, and he was like, this is crazy. Like, how could this be charged? How could this go to trial? So he went full board since 2023, 2022, really covering, like, he used to cover other stories, and he used to do funnier stories as well. He used to do stories about ratchets. He would have a tournament called Ratchet Madness, where he would have bad mothers, crazy women on, and he would do it like an NCAA tournament, and people would vote who would advance. But he actually won the award in Worcester for best journalist 3 years in a row, and they canceled the award because he won it so much. And he goes by several nicknames.
Wow.
Old school turtle riders call him Uncle Turtleboy. The new school people, he accepts being called Daddy. He likes to be called Journalism Jesus. And his preferred pronoun is doctor. because in his eyes, if Jill Biden is a doctor, then he can be a doctor. So he'll go by Dr. Turtleboy. But anyway, he started publishing story after story after story, and the Karen Read case became everything to him for years. He knows the evidence better than anyone. He knows the case better than anyone. He knows the trial better than anyone. So and he was cited for witness intimidation. He still has to go to trial for like 12 counts, I think now, of witness intimidation, because he went to the whole thing was Karen Read backed up into John O'Keefe in the snow. That's how they thought he died. The reality of it, based on the evidence, the prosecution's own medical examiner could not say that the injuries to John O'Keefe were consistent with being hit by a 6,000 fucking pound Lexus. So that right there should have stopped it. So as this was going on, there was massive corruption. The initial investigator for the state troopers was Michael Proctor. Okay. Michael Proctor had a prior relationship with the McCabe family, Jen and Matt McCabe, who were at the house that night during the murder. The Albert family, Chris Albert, Kevin Albert. Kevin Albert is a selectman in Canton, and he went to jail on manslaughter charges because he ran someone over drunk and served 6 years. So there was the first trial. It was two completely different trials. The first trial, the defense went hard at trying to prove a cover-up, that all these people were in the house. There was discrepancies on who was there, who wasn't. There were discrepancies. Okay, there's a body lying on the lawn. People are leaving and nobody sees it. The plow driver, there was a snowstorm that night. The plow driver who plowed never saw a body. And then he saw a white Ford Edge kind of covering so where the body was found. And the belief was it was put there purposely.
Right.
So the first trial, I mean, the defense really was trying to be the prosecution and prove that this was a setup, a corruption. They're framing Karen Read. And, they interviewed the McCabes, the Alberts. They call them the McAlberts. They're the worst people in the world. They lie. They're the ones who invited Karen Read and John O'Keefe to the house for the after party. And Karen Read and John O'Keefe were not really friends with them. So, and Karen was sick. She didn't want to go. She sat parked in her Lexus and she just waited for John to go in. But she never saw John go in. John was supposed to call when he got in. And she stayed out there for 10 minutes, calling, texting, whatever, never got a response. And then she left some very bad messages, which were used against her, saying, what the fuck? I can't put up with this bullshit. Why aren't you responding? So again,
because all women in Massachusetts are massholes.
Yes. Well, Karen, that's not true. That's not true.
Not true?
That's not true. Karen is very educated. Karen worked as a financial advisor. She was an adjunct professor at Bentley University. Yeah. Okay. They knew each other from high school. They rekindled and were dating for 2 years. Now, John O'Keefe was a saint. He was a Boston cop. He was taking care of his dead brother's children. Wow. The mother was lost to cancer. The father died, and John was raising the children. And there was a lot of combativeness between Karen at times with the children and John, because Karen never wanted to have children. So now she's kind of in this family, and it caused some friction.
Sure.
So throughout the night, Karen waited, eventually goes home. She calls and texts and calls and texts and no response. And she's leaving even worse voicemails. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, you asshole. Why aren't you responding? What the fuck? How could you do this? And then, she never slept. She got worried. And like I talked about, she reached out to Jen McCabe, who had been at the house, and asked if John was there. She said, no, I never saw John. And Jen McCabe came and helped pick Karen up, and they went and looked for the body, whatever. And Karen found it. And the prosecution really had no evidence other than the testimony of the people in the house saying that John never entered, and Jen McCabe claiming that Karen said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. And one of the EMTs saying that he heard her say, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. In reality, she was speaking in hypotheticals, saying, like, could I have hit him? Did I run him over? Did I do something? Like, she was in shock. And if you watch the video, they show the videos of the cops getting there. She is running around frantically, screaming, crying. She performed CPR on him. Jen McCabe did nothing. They asked Jen McCabe to go get some blankets to warm him up. She didn't do that. So now the first trial, there was a lot of controversy because it ended in a mistrial. However, the jury voted to acquit on the second-degree murder and vehicular manslaughter charges, the two big charges. They were hung on drunk driving or leaving the scene of an accident. But the way that the judge gave the jury instructions, it was confusing, and they had thought that they had to acquit on everything for her to be acquitted. And they didn't poll the jury afterwards. And her lawyers only found out about this because a juror came forward and said, like, we acquitted her. It was unanimous on manslaughter and the second-degree murder. And they appealed to the Massachusetts Supreme Court. Nothing. So they go to the retrial. The defense completely changed their strategy, which I didn't necessarily agree with, but it worked. And they were right, because this was something that's rarely been done. One of the jurors on the first trial was a lawyer, and she was very upset because at the end she was chosen as an alternate. And I think it was basically because she was reported by another juror that she talked about the case outside of deliberations, like weeks before. So they hired this attorney to be part of the team because she was on the last jury. And I think that was a huge difference, because they hammered home, we don't have to prove who did this. We don't have to prove the prosecution's case. All we have to do is prove reasonable doubt. Reasonable doubt. And that's what they focused on. So the trial was much less as far as like testimony. The prosecution couldn't call the lead prosecutor, Michael Proctor, because he sent vile text messages they had a text chain going, and the prosecution and the defense got access to it, asking if, did you find nude photographs of Karen? And Michael Proctor responded, no nudes. She's fucked. She's going down. Is she hot at least? She's got a leaky balloon because she had a colonoscopy, or she had a colostomy bag for a while. He made fun of her medical conditions. He said he hoped she killed herself. He said horrible things. So he got fired from the state troopers. They didn't call him to testify in the second trial. And the defense was smart. The prosecution's experts were awful. They hired Actor, who's an accident reconstruction company, and the guy who did the testing for the accident reconstruction lied about his resume, lied on his LinkedIn profile. He said that he had a degree in general studies from University of Alabama. Well, it turns out there's no general studies program at UAB. He lied about having a degree, and the defense found this out. And they also, I mean, he changed his resume to say degree in general studies ongoing. And this is 17 years. And it's like Van Wilder. Who goes to school for 17 years? Doctors, maybe. So he lost credibility there. And the medical examiner could conclude that John O'Keefe was struck by a car. Because if you look up the autopsy photos, remember I showed you the injuries to his arm?
Yes.
So they showed that, and they showed the reconstruction, videos, and they could not simulate. Please don't start yawning. This is interesting, please. They could not simulate the damage to the arm from breaking the tail light and everything like that. It wouldn't cause those kinds of wounds. And they had the accident reconstructions from ARCA, who was the defense expert, basically testify these are from dog bites. Everything's from a dog bite. And the prosecution, tried to negate it. And the other difference was the prosecution brought in a special prosecutor, Hank Brennan, who, like I talked about, represented Whitey Bulger. So then the defense had, like I said, they had the dream team of our century. They had Alan Jackson, who represented Harvey Weinstein, also represented Kevin Spacey, David Yannetti, one of the top attorneys in Massachusetts. And I didn't even know this. My father told me Robert Allesi is from Albany, New York. And my dad said he does environmental law, which I can't believe. He was tasked, and he came on the team because he understood the text stream data and the Apple data, because it showed John O'Keefe walking up flights of stairs, walking around basically after the accident had taken place. And it was known that he was completely incapacitated after the accident. And his death was caused by a skull fracture. It wasn't caused by anything else. It was the skull fracture. Hypothermia was only a secondary factor. So the prosecution's theory of him being hit by a car out in the cold from 12:30 to 6 a.m. did not carry any weight, because his body temperature was still 80 degrees. And, the experts testified, had he been out that much longer, his core temperature would have dropped because he would have died shortly within 15 minutes after being hit. And he would have been much, much colder. There would have been signs of frostbite. There were none of that. So the defense and the prosecution completely changed strategies. The prosecution did not call any of the people that were in the house at the time. The Jen McCabe, Colin Albert, all these people that were there. They didn't do that. They just went with the experts, basically. And they had a neurosurgeon that talked about the injury to the head. The defense, all they didn't want to call Trooper Proctor, the disgraced guy who got fired. They called a friend of his who was on the text chain, and they had him read the text messages that Proctor sent. So they were able to get the text messages, the vile, unprofessional, disgusting text messages of things he was saying about Karen Reed. They got that into evidence by calling his friend and had him read them in because he was on the text chain. And the defense definitely won because of the experts. ARCA was the best They're the best accident reconstruction company in the world, basically. And they were they were not hired by Karen Reed. That's what people don't get. In the first trial, people thought that the jurors were never told. The jurors thought that they were hired by her insurance company. They didn't understand that there was a federal investigation going on while this was all happening. The feds were investigating the investigation because there were conflicts of interest all over the place. The evidence was mishandled. There was evidence lost. There were videos that were lost. And the discovery process was an absolute fucking nightmare because the prosecution would hand over different shit in drips and drabs over weeks and months and years. And, even up until May 7th, when the prosecution accident reconstructionist testified, he changed his report. He changed his report to basically fit the defense's, the prosecution's timeline. And the defense attorneys, Bob Allesi, just shredded him, tore him apart. It was freaking awesome. And then the defense put on their case, and all it was really the couple experts that testified, and it was the two experts and the medical examiner who basically, and it pissed off the prosecutor. He said, there's no way that he got hit by a car because there were no broken bones on his torso. There was no sight that showed that, he got hit. None of that. So, and Alan Jackson, who I think, is so impressive, he gave an impassioned closing that I thought was remarkable. And I think because the biggest thing that the jurors from the first trial had said was, they didn't hammer home, they didn't understand reasonable doubt. And Alan Jackson said, if you are 99.9% sure Karen Reed did this, you have to find her not guilty. That's reasonable doubt. And I think that you're yawning. There's a 50 on. And I think that's what did it. Hank Brennan, his closing did not focus as much on the evidence. He went towards the emotion of losing John O'Keefe, the kids he was raising, now being without their mother, their father, and now basically their stepfather, who was their uncle. And now there's no justice for John O'Keefe. That's the saddest part, because the owner of the house was Chris Albert. Chris Albert, like I told you, a month after this all occurred, he sold the house, and he repainted and recovered part of the basement where they think the fight may have taken place, and sold the house for about $40,000 under value just to get it sold. And there's another yawn. And then they rehomed the dog. Nobody knows where this dog is. The defense was never allowed to see the dog. They said the dog was in Vermont. The medical examiner who tested everything said there was no dog DNA. But if you clearly look at his arm, when they do the videos of the accident reconstruction, you can see that there's no way that a broken taillight caused those injuries. So they went to verdict. They did their closings on Friday, started deliberations. I expected the jury to come back within a day. I thought Monday we'd get a verdict. Monday comes and goes, no verdict. Tuesday comes and goes, no verdict. And the judge is a complete CUNT. She was biased the entire time. She was against the defense. She never ruled in their favor. Every objection the prosecution made was sustained. The jurors sent notes to the judge asking questions, basically asking, because Karen, the mistake Karen Reed made, she gave interviews after the first trial, and they put those videos into evidence. And, the jurors asked if they could, how do we weigh the video evidence? Is it considered legitimate evidence or what? And the judge said, well, I can't answer that for you. And then there was confusion on the juror's slip because they had the main charges and then the lesser included, but the instructions were like, okay, if you find her not guilty here, do not go down and you don't have to look at anything further. They found her guilty of one thing. She's guilty of OUI. And they were going to have a sentencing hearing, but the only good thing the prosecutor did was he basically said, there's no need to do that. We'll give her a year probation and she has to attend 24 DUI classes against it. And there were 3,000 people who went crazy when the verdict was announced and celebrated. Wow. Everyone was wearing pink because that was Karen Reed's favorite color. They changed the buffer zone around the courthouse because the first trial, you could stand on either side of the stairs. So as the prosecution, the defense, the John O'Keefe's family were entering, some people were getting heckled or whatnot. So the judge moved the buffer and people got arrested if they crossed over or whatnot. They were thrown in jail. So one of the attorneys from Massachusetts filed a lawsuit against the city for their ordinance saying it was unconstitutional. You can protest wherever the fuck you want as long as you're on public grounds. So the buffer they were given more of an area to protest, and they deliberated into Wednesday. Based on the notes, we kind of knew that they were going to find her not guilty of second-degree murder and manslaughter. The OUI charge, they could protest it, but they're not. She still has a civil trial. The O'Keefe family is suing her for wrongful death. And as we know, the burden of proof there is much lower. However, her insurance company is the one that would pay out. It wouldn't come out of her pocket. Turtleboy raised a significant amount of money for her defense. She cashed in her 401k, sold her house, moved in with her parents. I think they took out a second mortgage. Her defense cost millions upon millions of dollars. But you have to understand the Massachusetts taxpayers to hire Hank Brennan, who is a hired gun. And, this has gone on for 3 years. This cost the Massachusetts taxpayers probably $10 million. And it shouldn't have even been brought to trial. So I was elated because of everything they went through. And her father made a statement afterwards that I thought was very powerful. And, she said the same thing. She said, nobody wanted justice for John O'Keefe more than I did. And she knew she didn't do this, and that they think that's why the defense fought as hard as they did for her. And they did a lot of stuff pro bono because, the money ran thin. They were filing motions. They had paralegals. They were doing research. But from what you know, what were your thoughts?
Well, from what I know, because everything is iffy as to what exactly happened, it's hard to find.
No. It's not iffy. What do you think is iffy?
No, I said it was iffy that like how you could try her without really having a good enough evidence to know that she did it.
Exactly.
Like a lot of times you would really needed a better investigation. This was the guy that was
No witnesses.
This was the
No
this
witnesses.
was this the guy that was frozen in the yard while everybody was hanging out?
He wasn't frozen, but yes, he was left in the yard in January 29th,
Like
while everyone was in the house.
I first heard it, I thought it was so conspicuous, just that whole scenario, like weird.
And nobody saw him. You know, people were leaving to go home, and they claim they never saw a body out there. So that to me shows he wasn't out there.
What was the cause of death?
Skull fracture. They said he fell back. No, they said he fell back and he hit his head on a concrete, blunt, rigid object that caused a massive skull fracture. And even like I said, the prosecution medical examiner said, examining the brain and the skull, had hypothermia been more of a factor, you would have seen more of these black lesions, and they weren't there. So that's why she couldn't classify it. I'm not sure she even classified it a homicide. I know that she said the cause was the skull fracture. Hypothermia was a contributing factor. But I don't think there's like you have to be, and there's so many trolls out there that are saying, you know, and it's true. The people that made the most difference in this case between trial 1 and trial 2 were guys like Turtleboy, guys like the lawyer, guys like the Young Jerks, who all do podcasts and were covering the case. And they were Young Jerks, they're called. Jurks. And the lawyer, who's out of Florida, he does a phenomenal job. They're all explaining the evidence, and they're like, "What?
What did you say? The lawyer I know out of Florida?"
That's what he calls himself. The lawyer, No, I didn't mean personally. His YouTube channel is the lawyer.
Cool.
And he's excellent. And everyone, and Mark Betterow as well, they all said the same thing. Like, this shouldn't be going to trial. There's no evidence. Video was destroyed. There was a Ring camera right across the fucking street of where the O'Keefe house or the Albert's house was, where all this happened. The Michael Proctor and the state police never went over to ask for that video camera, the Ring camera footage. And they interviewed a juror yesterday. And the juror basically said, I don't know if there was police corruption, but I know when I saw them tow Karen Reed's car to the police garage, the taillight that was supposedly cracked and hit him, you can see it red and lighting up, and there's no broken taillight. That's reasonable doubt. And that was part of the reason she was found not guilty.
Right. That's well, it seems to me, the question is, who did it? For me,
I know who did it.
Who did it?
It was probably Matt McCabe. Allegedly, Matt McCabe had a love interest for Karen Reed, and they had been texting.
That's the husband of
Jen McCabe. I'm sorry, not Matt McCabe. It was Brian Higgins. Brian Higgins was an ATF agent. He had been texting Karen before all this because things with John O'Keefe were not great at the time. But they'd been texting and, flirting. And the problem, and you can see this, they show them that night at the waterfall, and it looks like Chris Albert is holding back Brian Higgins like he wants to go fight John O'Keefe right there because he's pissed. Because as soon as he comes in, he kisses Karen Reed and hugs her, and they embrace. So I think she didn't see him go into the house. Nobody saw him go in the house. I think he went into that house. I think he got sucker punched. I think he got pushed, and it was probably an accident. He cracked his head and was dead. And then Jen McCabe, the malicious, oh, I'm just a soccer mom. I'm not innocent. I don't do anything. I just got to go powder my pussy. And she quarterbacked the whole thing. And Michael Proctor had a previous, he knew all these people. So the conflict of interest was there. He should not have been the investigator on the case. And the majority of the interviews took place with the group together. He didn't interview them individually. And that's initially why the feds got involved. The feds investigated the investigation. And the feds were the ones who hired ARCA, the accident reconstructionist, who said he wasn't hit by a car. You know, you can tell there's no broken bone. If he was hit by a 6,000-pound Lexus, he would have had some broken bones. He would have had torn ligaments. He would have had much more damage to his body than he did. The damage to his body from the autopsy, it legitimately looks like he was in a fight. So that's why I say that. But I'm thrilled that she was found innocent. I'm thrilled because the defense team put so much into this, and they could have quit after the first trial. And Alan Jackson was right. Alan's like, this is the first time I've ever gotten a murder victim off twice because he got her off the first trial.
On a mistrial, right?
It was, well, it was not a mistrial. The judge refused to listen. 3 jurors submitted affidavits saying we voted unanimously to acquit her on murder 2 and vehicular manslaughter. And the judge refused to do anything about it. And they appealed it to the Supreme Court. They refused to do anything about it because they don't want to overrule a judge. So Alan Jackson, when he was interviewed, said, the first time I got a murder victim off twice. And they said they fought so hard because they knew she was innocent.
What a shame. But the good thing is justice prevailed.
But again, it is good. But I go back to, again, what kind of life is Karen Reed going to have now? She's not vilified like OJ is.
No.
I'm hoping that she'll still be able to get a job and have a life. She's 45 now. She still looks good.
She's 45.
Yeah, she still looks great. She has MS. She lost a ton of weight. Her parents are older. God bless her parents for sticking through this. And you know, a lot of people had sympathy for the O'Keefe family.
Yeah,
I do not.
You do not.
No, Paul O'Keefe was using his dead brother's trial to meet women.
Really?
He was texting and messaging women. And one of the women was catfishing him and sent all his texts to Turtleboy. And she told Paul O'Keefe to give her a sign because he was on TV during the trial. Give her a sign that says that I love you. And the sign was him scratching his nose. So they showed that several times on Turtleboy's thing. So I have no sympathy for Paul O'Keefe. I have no sympathy for the O'Keefe family because they are so stupid and blind to not see that Karen Reed had nothing to do with this. There's no way. There's no way. And all you have to do is watch the videos when the police get there, the EMTs get there. Karen Reed is running around frantically, screaming, crying. She had to be institutionalized for a day to calm down. She was a complete mess. And she left nasty voicemails after all this because she never heard from John, like whether he got into the house. She never slept. Like a guilty person would have gone to sleep. Like they wouldn't have given a shit.
Yeah, that I agree with.
She cared, and I mean, it's just it's too bad that it took so long for her to get a not guilty verdict. The OUI, I think, was just consolation to show that she was guilty of something.
Well,
But I think Alan Jackson, David Yannetti, Bob Allesi, they're going to be rock stars from now on. Alan Jackson was already a rock star, but they're going to obviously get a plethora of new clients and make money. Karen Reed is going to make money from movies, documentaries. She already had a documentary going as the trial played out, which will be released, and I think it'll be great. And I think they'll do a movie. She's going to sue the Commonwealth for wrongful prosecution, which I think is 100% valid. And I hope that she recoups some of that money and gets her life back. And I know you didn't follow the case like I did. And I followed it, like I said. Well, I mean, you have to understand, when this happened, I was in the hospital after I had my foot amputated.
oh,
So the only thing that really got me through that time was Turtleboy. I was reading his blogs and I was watching his shows because I was there for a month. And Aidan Kearny, Turtleboy, I mean, he went to, you don't know this, he went to jail for 60 days because they said that he committed domestic violence against a girlfriend. None of that was true. The girlfriend lied and set him up. And he had a harassment order in place for a year. The harassment order never got renewed. But he still is facing 15 counts of witness intimidation. So I think that, and he didn't do that. He stayed on public property. He did use a blowhorn a couple times, but witness intimidation is, you have to be in fear of your life from someone. These people were not in fear of Turtleboy. And they made statements to that. He has video of them saying that. I'm not scared of you. I'm not scared of you. So I think he's going to win. But, I mean, it's just, he's got to go to trial next. And that was put off. And then Karen Reed's got the civil trial. She's going to be, she's going to be deposed. Her family's going to be deposed. Yeah, that's a big one right there.
I think it's.
I didn't mean to bore you. I just wanted to.
No, it's great. It's a slam dunk that she got off, but it wasn't necessarily looking that way. But the bottom line is, how did they not figure out who really did it?
Because the house
conspiracy goes all the way up the top. That's what.
Yeah, the problem is there's not much evidence left. The house, Chris Albert, the house where they could have tested for DNA. That is the main. That is what caused a lot of reasonable doubt. This happened on the front lawn. The police never went in the house after this happened. Never checked for evidence, never did anything like that. They interviewed the people at the house at a different residence. So that's suspect. And then Chris Albert sold his house immediately after. So they can't go back to the house. Yeah, he sold. As I said, that he sold the house and he sold it for $30,000 cheaper.
Wow.
Yeah, because he knew. So I agree. I wish there was a way that they could charge and do another investigation, but it's just going to be impossible to do because
got away with murder.
Yeah, I think it was Brian Higgins, Colin Albert. They were probably the biggest culprits of it.
Amazing.
Colin Albert was a young punk. He played football at Bridgewater State. They were neighbors to the O'Keefes 10 years earlier, and they used to throw beer cans on their lawn.
That's not football. Oh, they did.
Yeah, they didn't like it. John O'Keefe did not like Colin Albert because Colin Albert used to litter on his lawn, play loud music. He was just a terrible neighbor. So there's a portion of people that believe Colin Albert was the one who tried to fight him. Other people believe Brian Higgins fought him because he loved Karen Reed. And just we'll never know because they're not going to obviously confess.
No, they're not.
No. So it's sad that it's John O'Keefe. He was a great man. He took his brother's kids in for years.
Who took his brother's kids in after this?
I don't know who has them now. I don't know if Paul does, the other brother, or not, or one of the sisters. But it's just sad all around that he's not going to get justice. He was a good cop, a good man, and Karen Reed got railroaded. They never investigated anyone else, never looked at anyone else. And because of that, the case will just remain a mystery. That's fine. I just wanted to talk about it. Yeah.
That's the saddest part of all of it.
It is. But it's the fault of the Norfolk District Attorney.
Oh, it's Norfolk, Massachusetts?
Yeah. The Norfolk County. It's Canton, Massachusetts, Norfolk County. Canton is just outside of Boston. It's around Dedham. It's the same area.
By Walpole and all that?
Walpole, I think so. Yeah.
Oh, it's for Dan.
Like if you asked your sister about it, I'd love to hear your sister's story.
Dan Smith will know about it. Dan Smith lives in Norfolk.
I'd love you to ask your sister about it to see what she thinks.
If she knows anything about it.
Everyone in Massachusetts knows about it. This became a national phenomenon.
Yeah.
Turtleboy is called Turtleboy. Did I tell you why?
You did. It was a statue.
Yes. And what does the statue show?
All right.
Yes.
What?
Do you recall what the statue shows?
He was riding something.
It basically looks like a boy fucking a turtle.
Yes.
That's what Worcester's known for.
My God.
So he called himself Turtleboy. He was a teacher his entire life.
Yeah, I saw he was a track coach or something.
Yeah, he coached track at Shepherd High. But he was a conservative blogger, but he didn't want his identity known because he knew it would affect his career. He was found out because he came to a Buffalo Bills game and people videoed him because he was arguing with Bills fans. And then they found out his identity. People started to someone. People started to email his school district saying just vile things about him. And so the school initially they dismissed him, but he got like a year's worth of severance pay. So that's when he went to blogging and podcasting full time. And now like from 2 years ago to now, his Twitter followers are through the roof. But I still think you have more YouTube subscribers than his YouTube channel.
We definitely do.
I don't know that we definitely do. I'd have to check his YouTube channel. But he just gets, I mean, his live shows get 20,000 views now because because he was following the Karen Reed trial. So
Amazing.
you don't have to yawn anymore. What are you twisting your hair? How's your gout?
Gone.
Told you, knock it right out. Now,
I feel a little bit, but no.
Did they say that you're going to have to take the meds long term?
No.
Okay. Did they give you 2 meds or just the one?
Just the one.
Oh, so they just gave you the anti-inflammatory. They didn't give you the med to reduce the uric acid. That's good.
No.
So if you have another attack, that you just take the anti-inflammatory. Okay. You just stop yawning. Please stop yawning. What time do you get up in the morning?
Early, like 7:30.
You're up at 7. You go for your walk. You do your 10 a.m. podcast.
I already did a pod. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know.
I was at the doctor today.
Yeah, but I mean, I do a million pods too, but I don't yawn like you.
You're doing all the talking.
You don't. I'd let you talk. Please talk.
No, well, I'm done because now I'm going to go watch my son play the final competition in CBA basketball camp.
Can you message Roderick Plummer, the coach? He really wants to come on your prospect podcast.
I don't know who that is.
I told you, Rod Plummer. Remember before I said he messaged me about doing the prospect podcast? He's at Pace, I think. You know this. We've talked about it. You said that your buddy was scheduling him.
He's at Kentucky State?
I don't know where he is now. He's been a million places. But he messaged me again, just asking, like, I want to come on the podcast.
Okay.
And I want to, and you won't schedule me, and that's bullshit.
Well, what are you going to talk about?
What do you mean what the fuck I'm going to talk about? I know more football than you. I've forgotten more football than you.
But you're not involved in football anymore, really, per se.
You had Andy Rondo on. He's not involved in football.
But he was a head coach.
I was an offensive line coach.
Fair enough.
I can talk football better than anyone. What do you want to talk about? Pass protection, line play, run game, pass game. What do you want to know?
We'll talk line play with you.
I mean, my God. The Trench Mob podcast does well.
You guys still doing that?
Yeah.
It's going good?
Yeah. Yeah, it's going real good.
That's
but you don't want to sell the Letterman jackets.
No, I'm not selling any Letterman.
Can I just ask your advice?
Sure. You want to do this live or you want to do it offline?
No, live. What would be I don't even know. I have contacts with schools, but like Julius was saying, like they could be for all different teams. Would it be something, the Letterman jackets?
Oh.
Would it be trying to contact the athletic directors? Would it be going through an individual coaches?
My guess in today's world, you probably have to get to the parent groups.
The parents can buy them individually, yes.
Meaning, I don't know if some schools might do Letterman jackets still. Like my high school did.
Yeah, I thought we all did. They don't do them anymore?
I don't know if every school does. I think some would be your school, some would be the parent group.
Okay.
I would start with the school, to be honest.
But like even like your 7-on-7 team, they wouldn't want Letterman jackets. You don't think they'd have interest? I mean, they're really cool designs and everything.
What's the name of the company?
I don't.
What's the name of the company? Look it up.
I don't know off the top of my head what the fuck the name of the company is. I just know that he
told me that I wanted Letterman jackets. I got to look at what it looks like.
I just know that Goat Coats. Dave Wisniewski. Isn't he a Yukon guy? Dave Wisniewski.
Sounds familiar.
Well, I'm just pissed because I didn't want commission. I wanted
cool, but it's like reversible. I mean,
you can design them any way you want. You can put patches on them. I mean, they're custom made. They're not super expensive.
Yeah, because you must go overseas. Yeah. Oh wait,
isn't he? I thought he was a Yukon guy. It's just the name sounds familiar.
It does sound familiar.
But I mean, I know enough high school coaches to where I could go to them. I just didn't know if that was the best option. But you think the parents
I'm looking at them now. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
I was thinking traditional Letterman jackets.
No, these are high tech.
Well,
they're cool. They're reversible. I mean, there's so much you can do with them.
Yeah.
That's why I thought they would be marketable.
Oh, the NFLPA is a
sponsored.
They have NFLPA licensing.
Yeah, that's why I think.
All right, I'm gonna go over. I'll be there.
That's why I think it could work. I mean, I'm gonna try. But I know with your contacts, that's why I thought that you would be great. But you don't want to sell Letterman jackets.
No. Nope. I might get one for my guys.
That's what I'm saying. Like your 10U kids, like they may have interest, right?
Yeah, they may. What do they cost?
$200.
Oh, okay. There's Mitchell and that's expensive. No way.
You think that's too expensive? $200?
They're not $200.
Oh.
The Bomber, no, they're $350, $450.
Oh, he told me there were $250. Okay.
Let me see. Design your coat.
If they're $450, that's ridiculous. Then that's absolutely. Yeah, they're custom made. But yeah, not for $450. I mean, come on. That's
$350. It says $350. The custom bomber jacket $350 plus tax and shipping. So probably around $400, $450.
Yeah,
I won't be able to get that's more than my club cost to
that's too much. I agree.
They're nice. They're nice. They're worth it. But
they are.
I'm not gonna be able to get all my guys to get it. You know what I mean? That would be like something I would give a gift for my son,
sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like that would be a gift for like your birthday or something.
Sure. But so it's
cool.
Maybe he was saying like they would go to $250 if we got a team to buy them, something like that. I'll figure it out. And I'll ask you off air, but yeah.
Yeah, let me go because I got to go in a second. I'll call you as soon as I get off here because I got to run.
Call me. All right. Well, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges and just give them to Karen Reed.
250 consecutive viewers.
I know.
Podcast
because I'm popular. I'm entertaining.
But you are. But Bloodlines and Betrayals and the topics it covers is a hit.
Well, Abe Lincoln didn't do as well. I wish Abe did better.
That's okay. You got to mix in different things.
We got to just stay a little bit in the century, I think.
No, I like it. I like the history.
I loved it. I loved it.
I'd like to find some mysterious killing from 1700s.
Oh, good God.
How about Jesse James? How about the Jesse James case?
No, I would do Jesse James. I would do John Dillinger.
Yeah, like those are cool.
Billy the Kid. I love that one. Yeah, Billy the Kid was a mystery.
I like diving into their thought process, the people's thought process.
Well, I mean, we're not psychology people. I don't think we can.
It's Bloodlines and Betrayals. All right, let me go. I gotta go.
As long as I can do Ted Bundy, I'll be fine. All right, go ahead.
We'll do Ted Bundy. All right.
So.